Please, I just need to get somewhere warm. My baby, she's so cold." The knock came soft against the truck window, almost lost in the howling December wind. Grayson had been parked at the rest stop for 20 minutes, finishing his logbook before the next haul. 29 years of driving cross-country had taught him to keep his windows up and his doors locked. But when he looked up, he saw her, blonde hair whipped wild by snow, a 3-year-old bundled against her chest, both shivering in clothes too thin for a Montana blizzard. He rolled down the window halfway. "What happened?" "My car, it died 5 miles back. I've been walking." Her voice cracked. The little girl's lips were turning blue, clutching a small teddy bear with frozen fingers. Something in Grayson's chest, something he'd thought had calcified after his daughter's death 12 years ago, suddenly fractured. He unlocked the door. Inside the warm cab, the woman introduced herself as Sloane. Her daughter was Ivy. Grayson handed them blankets from his sleeper berth, cranked the heat higher, and poured hot coffee from his thermos into the lid. Sloane's hands shook so badly she nearly dropped it. Ivy burrowed into her mother's lap, silent except for small, frightened whimpers. "Where were you headed?" Grayson asked, keeping his voice gentle. Sloane stared into the coffee. "Anywhere but where we were." He recognized that tone. He'd heard it before, in his own voice, years ago after the accident that took his wife and daughter. The sound of someone running from ghosts. "I'm heading to Billings. Got a delivery. Then I'm empty back to Seattle. I can take you as far as you need." Sloane looked up, tears pooling. "Why would you do that?" Grayson glanced at Ivy, who reminded him so much of his Chloe. Same age she'd been, same way of holding that bear like it was the only solid thing in the world. "Because somebody should have stopped for us once, and nobody did." The miles passed in careful silence. Ivy fell asleep. Sloane eventually spoke, her words coming in hesitant pieces. She'd left an abusive relationship 6 hours ago, grabbed Ivy, threw clothes in the car, and just drove. No plan, no money beyond $63. The car had been dying for months. "I didn't think it through," she whispered. "I just knew if I stayed another night—" She didn't finish. She didn't have to. Grayson's hands tightened on the wheel. "You did the right thing, the brave thing." "Brave would have been leaving sooner, before she had to see what she saw." Her voice broke. They stopped at a truck stop diner outside Billings. Grayson bought them dinner, pancakes for Ivy, soup for Sloane. While Ivy colored on a paper menu, Sloane excused herself to the restroom. Grayson's phone buzzed, a text from his dispatcher about the next load. But then Sloane's purse, left on the seat, tipped over. Papers scattered. He bent to gather them, not trying to look, but one document caught his eye. A medical degree from Johns Hopkins, summa cum laude, Sloane Hartley, M.D. His breath caught. This wasn't just a desperate woman fleeing. This was a surgeon, a decorated one, based on the hospital credentials mixed in the papers. Someone who'd saved lives. Someone who'd lost herself. When Sloane returned, Grayson said nothing, but his understanding shifted. He'd assumed she was uneducated, without options. He'd been wrong. Abuse didn't discriminate. 3 days later, they reached Seattle. Grayson had made calls, quiet ones, to people who owed him favors. A friend who managed a women's shelter with childcare. Another who ran a community clinic desperate for medical staff. He'd mapped out possibilities, resources, connections. But when he pulled up to the shelter, Sloane didn't move. "What if I can't do this?" she whispered. "What if I'm too broken?" He turned to face her. His eyes, weathered by years and loss, held something profound. 12 years ago, My wife and daughter died in a crash. I was driving. I walked away without a scratch. For 5 years, I didn't speak to another soul unless I had to. I drove these roads like a ghost. And then one night, a waitress at a diner in Nevada looked at me and said, "You look like you need someone to see you." She talked to me for an hour, just saw me. He paused, gathering the memory. That woman saved my life, not by fixing me, by reminding me I was still visible, still human. Sloane's tears fell freely now. "You're not broken," Grayson continued. "You're a surgeon who remembered how to save the most important life, your own and your daughter's." A week passed. Sloane started volunteering at the clinic while Ivy attended the shelter's daycare. Grayson visited on his days between halls, bringing books for Ivy, always staying for coffee. Their conversations deepened. One evening, Sloane finally asked the question she'd been holding. "Why didn't you ever remarry? Find happiness again?" Grayson smiled softly. "I did find happiness, just differently than I expected." He looked at Ivy, playing in the corner. "Every person I help now, that's my family. That's my second chance." Then came the twist Sloane hadn't anticipated. During her second week at the clinic, the director pulled her aside. "We've reviewed your credentials. We'd like to offer you a permanent position, full salary, benefits, housing assistance. There's something else. A patient here. He left a note asking specifically for you." Sloane's hands went cold. The patient was her father, estranged for 8 years after he'd refused to accept her first husband, the man who'd later become her abuser. Her father was dying, lung cancer, weeks left. She showed Grayson the note that evening. "I don't know if I can forgive him." Grayson was quiet for a long moment. "My last words to my daughter were, 'Hurry up, we're late.' I was annoyed about traffic, about time." His voice cracked. "I'd give anything for one more minute, not to be forgiven, just to say, 'I'm sorry.'" Sloane visited her father the next day. It was painful, raw, imperfect. But when he whispered, "I see who you are now, and I'm so proud," something ancient inside her released. Not complete forgiveness, but the beginning of peace. 6 months after that snowy night, Sloane stood in the clinic parking lot watching Ivy play with other children. She'd rebuilt a life, brick by careful brick. Grayson's truck pulled up, back from another cross-country run. He stepped out, carrying a small package. "For Ivy," he said, handing it to Sloane. Inside was a new teddy bear, identical to the worn one Ivy still carried. Sloane's vision blurred. "Grayson, how do I ever repay this?" He shook his head gently. "You already are. Every life you save, every kindness you pass forward." He glanced at Ivy. "Someday she'll ask about that night, and you'll tell her that a stranger saw us in the snow and remembered we were human." Sloane's voice trembled. "And I'll tell her that kindness isn't about what people can do for us. It's about who they help us remember we are." They stood in comfortable silence, watching Ivy laugh, a sound impossible 6 months ago. "Mama!" Ivy ran over, holding dandelions. "Make wishes!" Sloane knelt, holding her daughter close, looking at Grayson with gratitude beyond words. She thought of that frozen night, the knock on glass, the impossible moment when a man chose to see past fear and open a door. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Thank you for the people who stop." The seeds scattered on wind, carrying hope. True kindness is recognizing that everyone carries invisible burdens. It's choosing to stop when every instinct says drive past and see another person's humanity. We are all one moment, one stranger, one open door away from being saved or saving someone else. That choice echoes forward in ways we'll never fully know. Stop. See. Help.
If you enjoyed the story, please like, share, subscribe, and comment.